Yeah. Yeah. Come and never sleep on me. Eyes on my chain 숙여 너의 고개를 what you looking at fool 너의 눈 허리 멍청했고 find your comfort from another yeah I go low like undercover yeah wanna know my name 죽지 않은 일은 위에 부어버려 기름 guess you can even guess me cause I'm baby high low로 확실해 not like maybe Devil let me welcome to my palace 찾지 않아 Alice you just keep on wonder You just keep on wonder 찾지 않아 Alice 버려 너의 memory I just pop a bin Danny have been 나는 걸어 Boeing 747 날개 위
What's up, everybody? So I got my boy Colton Flatt and Caleb Mabry, and of course I'm Jonathan Lynham, and we are here to talk about The World Is Not Enough. So we get Pierce Brosnan's penultimate James Bond movie. So Colton and Caleb, tell me what your first initial thoughts about this movie is.
It's probably pretty fresh on your mind, so you go ahead.
Yeah, I literally just watched it. I don't hate this movie. I don't think I've heard anybody say that they hate this one. There probably are people that hate it. It's not my favorite. Parts of it I really enjoy. Parts I could do without. I think the set design is really good. A lot of the actors are really good, and I love. I can't remember her name. King. Her last name's King. What's her first name?
Electra.
Oh, Electra. Yeah, I knew her name. I love Electra King. I think she's a great character. I think her actress is like perfect. She's probably the standout for me in this movie. Other than was it Robert Carlyle?
Yeah.
Okay, so Robert Carlyle, phenomenal actor, great as a villain. He does well in this movie. There's other films he does really good as a villain in too, and I just want to speak on them too because they were great in this movie. And of course, Robbie Coltrane, man, Robbie Coltrane's great in this movie too. R.I.P.
Caleb, what's your thoughts on it?
Oh man, I was disappointed.
Really?
Yeah. A lot of people come around in this movie. I'm sure you've heard like people have sort of reevaluated it and decided that it's not as bad as what we initially thought. And while I agree with that, I guess I had that in mind and I had high expectations and yeah. And also as when I watched these movies as a kid, I always remember liking this one more than Tomorrow Never Dies, and now I have it's the other way around. I was surprised to find. I was like, man, I can't believe I actually like Tomorrow Never Dies more than this, but I don't know. That's just me.
It's probably because Tomorrow has more adult humor that you get now that you didn't get then.
Could be.
It had a lot of really good humor in it.
Yeah.
That I never caught. Like whenever I watched it the first time, I didn't catch it as an adult. So,
but that's not to do what
I said. Just maybe, I don't know.
That's not to say that this is a bad movie. It's I certainly. I mean, it's not. Diamonds Are Forever.
So my initial thoughts on it. This is actually my second favorite Pierce Brosnan James Bond movie. I have quite a bit of love for this movie. Of course, GoldenEye, spoiler alert, is my favorite Pierce Brosnan Bond movie. I mean, I know that's a real original idea on my part, but The World Is Not Enough is definitely my second.
You're ruffling a lot of feathers by saying that.
I know. The World Is Not Enough is my second favorite, and I will tell you, it's not because of nostalgia. I love all of Pierce Brosnan's movies, but I will tell you a few things that I do have a nostalgic connection to with this movie. So this is the first movie that I remember coming out. Like, I remember this being the first James Bond movie that came out, and like I was aware of it. I was in second grade at Walker Elementary, and I remember drawing like on my paper, like the papers, like The World Is Not Enough, like, you know, like I was drawing the movie poster and stuff. Like, I remember doing that all the time, like, because this was the new one that was coming out, and like, I didn't even go see it in the theaters. The first movie I ever saw, Bond-wise, was the one that came after this, Die Another Day. But I remember this one coming out, and I had the video game. I actually had all 3 video games that came out for this movie. I had the PlayStation 1 game, which I played to death. I had the N64 game, which was, and I know I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying this, but I actually think it's probably better than the GoldenEye N64 game. And I actually had the Game Boy Color the Game Boy Color, The World Is Not Enough game.
Pretty cool.
And I've still got the original Game Boy Color that I got my mom got it for me for, I think it was a Christmas present or something. But it was a green Game Boy Color, and it came with The World Is Not Enough. And I lost the game. And then I recently, in the past few years, I bought the game back off eBay. But I've still got the original Game Boy. And but yeah, man, I kind of just any game or book related to this movie I had. I had the novel for this movie. And I know I talked about the novelization of Tomorrow Never Dies and GoldenEye in the past podcast. I'm going to have to brag on my boy Raymond Benson once more.
Shout out Raymond Benson.
What?
Shout out Raymond Benson.
As I'm talking about this, I'm looking over on my wall, and I have my picture of me and Raymond Benson whenever I met him.
Can you show
everybody?
Oh, hold up 1 second. I'll get it. Okay?
Okay. Caleb, while Jonathan's doing that, he mentioned having a Game Boy Color. Have you seen the Game Boy mods where people put backlit screens in older Game Boys? I think they're so cool.
I have not. That sounds really cool.
Game Boy modding is like a huge thing.
So
that is so awesome.
So here is me, and I'm trying to get this at a good angle, but there's me and Mr. Benson. And
heck yeah, man.
And
I met him last year in Chicago because we were going to see it was the 60th anniversary viewing of From Russia with Love. I might have talked about it on here before, but
you touched on it briefly, but yeah, it's been a while.
We went and saw that movie at a cinema, and it was called the Pickwick Theater. I think it was the name of it.
Oddly enough.
I know, it's kind of odd, isn't it? But and for those who don't know, Pickwick is an area from where we all came from, Savannah, Tennessee. Well, it's in Counts, but Pickwick is an area around where we lived. But we went and saw this movie, From Russia with Love, not this movie, but From Russia with Love in Chicago, and Mr. Raymond Benson was there. And guys, I'm going to tell you something. This is the only time in my life when I had absolutely no idea what to say. Because me, guys, I'm like the biggest Bond nerd in the world, but and here I was literally meeting a man that wrote James Bond, he wrote some of the books, and dude, I had absolutely no idea what to say. Of course, my wife and my stepdaughter, they were there too. They met him. And I was just, it was a combination of being, just in awe of, hey, I'm meeting a dude that wrote my favorite character. And then at the same time, it's like, I was just speechless, But Mr. Benson was really cool about it, guys. He didn't even freak him out, man. And I kind of redeemed myself later on because he came out before, after we took seats. He came out and did a Q&A. And I asked a question then, so it kind of made me feel better. You know what I mean? But I'm really hoping that he's going to be at the same theater this year because, of course, this year is the 60th anniversary of Goldfinger. So I'm hoping he'll be there this year because you best believe I'm going back and I'm doing better this time if he's there.
Is it at the same place?
If they have it, I'm guessing it will be. I don't know if they're going to have it or not,
Oh, so you don't even know if they're planning an event?
No, okay, that was actually my question. Whenever they did the Q&A, I asked him. I said, "Are you guys going to do Goldfinger next year?" And he was like, "Well, we haven't talked about it, but that would be a good idea, And I was,
you know what my question would have been?
Huh?
I said, do you know what my question would have been?
What?
Mr. Benson, do you think I'm weird?
that was about where I was at after all that. But
and he would be like, yeah.
But guys, I'm serious, man. It was really cool, y'all. I mean, really cool, dude. But anyway, I know I got a little bit.
Was it well? I mean, was it a pretty big event? I mean, were there a lot of pretty big names there?
I think he was the biggest name there.
Which I mean, it's not nothing. That's still pretty cool.
Yeah,
what I'm getting
it
at is
was awesome.
I would like to potentially go to one of those. That sounds really fun.
Dude, I'm telling you, just seeing that movie on the big screen, of course,
Oh,
I
yeah.
wasn't alive in 1963, so I didn't see From Russia with Love on the big screen. So just seeing it like that, it was like a completely different experience in a way.
Well, you got to think, dude, when movies made back then, that's how they were meant to be viewed. They were never intended to be seen in a little box in your living room.
And
so yeah.
But anyway, we'll get back to what we were talking about. But I think I was talking about him doing the novelization of this movie, and he does kind of flesh out the characters more, especially the character of Renard and Electra King. They both get expanded backstories, and it's pretty cool. Like, I mean, just reading about Renard is pretty interesting.
Well, that's one of my complaints, actually. That's something that I would have liked in this movie, just a little more character development on Renard's part, because honestly, he's a really interesting villain, especially when you consider that he's not even really the villain.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I'm glad you agree with me there, because a lot, like, some fans have said that Renard is the main villain, but Renard isn't. Renard is ultimately doing this because he is in love with Electra King,
Yes. And I thought that was made pretty clear.
I did too, but I've heard a lot of fans say, no, it's actually Renard who's the bad guy. And I just
unless it's a little deeper than that.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm just not picking up on it, which I guess could be the case. But no, like in the final act, they make that pretty clear.
Well, I'm going to say something controversial. Well, some people might not have made it to the final act, and some people are just idiots. I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding, Caleb. No, I think it's personally like pretty obvious that she's the main villain. But I mean,
me too.
Yeah, but I mean,
like, you ain't telling me nothing new.
No, I mean, like, I'm not like trying to, I'm just saying like people are allowed to interpret it however they want to, but they're wrong. I'm just kidding again. I'm gonna quit talking.
It's all subjective, but this one way is the only
way. All right, people are gonna hate.
Hey, I'll start us off. What's that?
I'll just cut this whole section out, John.
I'll start us off if you don't mind. This is the longest pre-title sequence, I believe, in the series.
Did No Time to Die not take it?
Hold on. Okay, hold on. I've only seen it once.
Okay,
so you might be.
You've only seen No Time to Die once.
That's the only time
I can't work up the gumption.
I understand. I'm gonna be straight with you. I can't wait till that podcast, because man, that's probably gonna be a 4-hour podcast. Because
I think we need to just clear our schedule that day. But no, okay, I'll phrase it this way. For a long time, this was the longest pre-title sequence, and that's the first thing that stuck out to me when the title sequence finally came on. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. This hasn't happened yet.
So actually, The World Is Not Enough was actually at one time the longest, but No Time to Die beat it out
by
9 minutes longer.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, because the whole you get what's her name?
Madeline's backstory, right?
Yeah, you get
Madeline's backstory, and you also get the Italy scenes with Bond in the Aston Martin and all that.
Yeah.
I
guess you're right.
But yes, this is the second longest though, and so let's talk about this. Well, first thing, the gun. We get the gun barrel, and it's all very 1999 style, you know, with the music, was one of the most unique, in my opinion, of all the Bond gun barrel musics. And of course, Brosnan handles the gun barrel just as effortlessly cool as he always does. I'm sorry, I had to make sure I said that right.
Yeah,
I
it's
might not have, but I
pretty
just
sure
moved
they
on.
just I'm pretty sure they just copy and pasted it from.
Do they? Because
Yeah, they got to, right?
they
Because,
probably do, don't they? Man, that
which
sucks.
is fine. And we said it in Goldeneye. I love these gun barrels, man. His four gun okay, his three gun barrels they're perfect. They're so good.
Yeah, he really does. It's awesome. So after that, we get, of course, Bond at the bank in Bilbao, Spain, and he's meeting Lachaise, who is, of course, a corrupt Swiss banker. And like, I just love some of the back and forth. Bond's there, and he's like, basically saying, hey, I'm not just here for Robert King's money. I'm also wanting to know who killed this guy. And he brings up a picture. And the novelization that Raymond Benson did, it says that, like, pretty much if someone's a 00 agent, even if, I mean, like, if one of your 00 agent, your fellow 00s die, that's like an insult to you. And it's automatically something you're going to go and try to, take care of,
Yeah.
And it talks about how, like, Bond didn't even know this guy really, didn't know him much at all.
Yeah.
But he, took it as a personal, like, kind of insult.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
They're very close knitted.
yeah, close knit,
and the intelligence
community.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
very brother-like relationship.
Yeah, I just thought that was kind of cool that Raymond Benson put that in there, because he didn't have to say all that, but I just thought it was cool.
Well, I mean, it does help explain, like, even some of the past movies were like
Pussy.
Or I was gonna that's a really good one. Or I was gonna say Living Daylights.
Yeah.
Like, it sort of explains Bond's motivation, like why he's so angry about the death to spies.
Exactly. But like, we also see Pierce Brosnan with his glasses, like and of course the glasses, we realize, is a trigger for his gun, which has got a
gun bomb.
Yeah. And we see a little bit of Timothy Dalton Bond coming out in Pierce Brosnan, as he kind of swiftly kills a few of well, at least one of the guards in the bank, and kind of just holds up Lachaise. And like, this whole scene right here, I really dig it,
That's one thing. That's another thing that stuck out to me pretty early on, especially just coming off Tomorrow Never Dies. I complained about the hand-to-hand combat scenes in that movie at length, so I won't do that here. But Brosnan just looked really good in action in this movie, and especially in this sort of I guess this would be considered hand-to-hand, where he takes the gun off that guy and subdues him. He sells action really well.
And I think, if I remember correctly, I think he's got a 911 on the guy. He's holding
1911, yeah.
Yeah, he's holding a 1911 on Lachaise, which is actually one of the times in this movie where Bond uses a 1911. He uses it later on in the movie as well, but
he when he dives,
when he's in the submarine, he uses one.
Yeah.
And see, only gun guys would remember.
Yeah, I know. What you got? What you got, Cole?
So I'm having some technical difficulties. So if I drop out, I'll try and rejoin. But it's looking like my laptop isn't charging like it's supposed to, and it's about to die. So if I fall out, I'll try and rejoin on my phone or something. Okay.
Okay. Well, hopefully
just keep keep doing it. I'll join in when I can when she's not in here.
Okay.
I was gonna say, hopefully it's just you this episode. If I drop out too, it's gonna be Jonathan.
Hey, if both of y'all drop out, I'll just shut the computer.
Yeah, I think I have faith. I think you can carry it.
Yeah, for sure.
But I really like this pre-title. We get Pierce Brosnan, and like this is just I love this whole scene. He like hooks that guy to the the
Yeah.
whatever that is, that rope or whatever, and just jumps out. And the guy's holding on to the leg of the table, and it finally just breaks off. Like I just love that whole sequence, and it shows him walking out with that humongous
briefcase. Yeah.
Humongous briefcase full of money.
So
of course we see him back at MI6, and he meets Sir Robert King, who we later on figure out is the father of Electra King. And we see a little bit of M and Robert King there. And one of the things I think is really developed over time is M is a lot more warm to 007 here, I think.
yeah, it's something that was present in the last movie that we talked about, and I'm glad it's carried over.
Mm.
I would have liked to have seen that development. I think,
Yeah,
maybe they wouldn't have had to dwell on it for very long, but it did kind of make me wonder, like, what made you come around,
yeah. But of course, here we get whenever Bond's that she pours some whiskey for Bond, and she's like, "Do you want ice?" And Bond says yes. And no, hold up. I'm getting two scenes mixed up. He gets the ice out himself, and on his fingers, he sees the bubbling up, so he knows something's up with the money. Sorry, I was getting a scene in another Brosnan movie mixed up, a similar scene.
Now, yeah, I'm with you though, and I'll say this: as a kid, I had no idea, because they give you this close up of his fingers with the foam, and I was like, so it's made pretty clear through the cinematography, I guess, and just the editing of that scene that it's significant to what's fixing to happen. And I didn't understand it, but I think it's, I don't know, we'll say 20 more minutes into the scene where they're at the MI6 in Scotland.
Yeah.
He explains it's a chemical reaction.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was a really smart way of showing that.
Yeah. But of course, we unfortunately witnessed the death of Sir Robert King as he gets blown to pieces. And we get Bond on the Q-boat. So what do you think about the Q-boat, Taylor?
Don't tell me you have one, man.
I actually have a very small little model of the Q-boat here.
That is awesome.
Well, see, whenever I bought it, I actually thought it was bigger, but I mean, this is a pretty cool little model itself. But
that is, dude. I'm almost 30 years old, and I can see myself taking a bath and play with that thing, man.
I understand, dude.
What do I think it's a very Batman influenced, right?
Yeah, that does kind of look a little bit Batman influenced, doesn't it?
Other than that, though, I mean, it's a cool little toy. I don't really understand what that has to do with Q's retirement, unless he's planning on taking down large, sea vessels in his like. But it's cool nonetheless.
Yeah. Yeah, it's his fishing boat or whatever. Didn't he call it that? I know he did in the video game of the world.
Okay. Yeah, he might have mentioned something like that, but he definitely said that it was his for his retirement.
Yeah. But
sorry, gents.
Colton, do you have headphones by chance? Because
I'm
we're
trying to
getting
leave. I'm trying to leave the Zoom.
some severe feedback.
Sorry, guys.
Anyway, while Colton figures it out,
This is great for audio listeners, by the way.
I know, people who are going to be listening to this podcast, on
road
Spotify
trip.
or
Yeah.
Castbox probably won't know what the world is going on here.
You'll just have to edit that out, boys. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, it's a shame they can't see it. Colton's actually at the Grand Canyon right now.
I think our boy Colton's finally getting everything fixed up.
Look, I'm sorry, y'all.
Oh, you're good, Colton. I mean, it happens, man. You're good.
Hey, so we're at the boat chase scene.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, so when Bond is looking out the wall that just got blown up, that woman is pointing that rifle at him because he's he sees that laser on his chest. So is this the same assassin from the bank?
Yes, the cigar girl. And that gun she's got is I think it's a HKG 36, I believe, isn't it?
Oh my gosh. Dude, it is the cigar.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Cool.
And at the bank, whenever that guy got shot at the bank, remember?
Yeah.
That was supposed to be Renard. There's actually a deleted scene of Renard being in the building across from the bank with a sniper.
I remember that.
And he's there to make sure that Bond actually lives through it so that Bond will deliver the money. But anyway, I back to the boat chase. This boat chase is literally one of my favorite chases in the whole franchise.
I love I like the score. In this scene. I feel like this is where David Arnold really hits his stride.
Yeah.
Like it's really, I don't know. It suits the scene very well.
And I really like that the boat can go underwater. I thought that was a cool thing.
I like that Bond felt the need to straighten his tie underwater.
You got to keep that style up, even when you're underwater.
For the fish, don't want any fish thinking I'm a slob.
Might be a sexy mermaid in the East London Docklands. You never know.
No, this ain't a Roger Moore movie.
Yeah, you're right. But of course, we get Bond eventually kind of just jettisoning himself out and grabbing hold of the hot air balloon near the Millennium Dome. And of course, we get the cigar girl telling Bond that there's no way to escape him. Of course, we do not know who him is at this moment, but it kind of sets Renard up a little bit Blofeld-like,
It does, yeah. It does. But so what was Bond thinking when it's kind of reckless, right?
Extremely, extreme.
Yeah, he knows there's no way this ends with it's a miracle that he lived.
Yes.
One, but just in doing that, he had to be thinking, okay, well, I hope it's worth it because this is it. She's definitely going to kill me if I'm able to climb up this rope. But yeah, really sets up Renard. I was thinking, as you mentioned that the deleted scene when we were still in Spain. So I have seen that scene that you're referring to, but I can't remember. Does it actually show Renard, or is it just so it does show his face?
It shows Renard talking to the cigar girl.
Okay, all right.
And he's pretty much telling her,
See,
go ahead.
Well, it would not have worked well had we. It would have been weird to had already seen him.
Yes,
and then have this sort of ambiguous setup, and because that's another thing that I was going to bring up or point out, that it's a while before we even see him, so it would be weird to see him at the very beginning and then
Yeah,
because it's sort of like a build up.
it would totally ruin the build up. I think.
Yeah.
Like,
There would be no payoff.
yeah. I mean, I like watching the deleted scenes, but I could see why they took that one out. Most definitely.
Yeah.
Of course, Bond falls off the hot air balloon, landing on the Millennium Dome, which leads into our title sequence and also a song by Garbage. The World Is Not Enough, which I'm quite the fan of. I actually really like this song quite a bit. What do you guys think about it? And it's okay if you don't like it. I'm not going to take offense.
Well, I'll tell you what I think, but first I want to tell you how I wanted this question to go in a perfect world. You have said, "Hey guys, what do you think of the title song?" And I was going to say it's garbage.
Garbage.
And then it would have been hilarious. We would have all laughed. But no, I like the song. I really do.
I do too.
It's I don't know if it'd be top 10. It's hovering around at the 10 spot somewhere, but it's good.
Yeah.
It's one of those that you listen to and then it's stuck in my head for a couple days afterwards.
Colton?
So I don't hate it. It's not bad. There's some parts of it I like, but like whereas you really enjoy it, I don't think it really stands out. If that makes any sense.
That's fair. Yeah, that's
like,
a fair statement.
There's just nothing that's like I'm not gonna go around singing this. And like it's not to say it's bad, it's just like it's forgettable for me, I think. But like I do like the what's it called? The title sequence. I don't know why I couldn't think of what that was called. I like the title sequence. I like the effects in it. And I love how Pierce slides down. Like it shows him sliding off the building into the sequence. I think that's great because you see him limping away.
Yeah, the transition into the title. Yeah, I thought I'm glad you pointed that out.
Yeah, it's handled really, really well. So
yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, I do like the visuals in this title sequence. It's I guess you could say that all the title sequences had a theme. Usually having to do with the movie.
And this one's got oil.
Yeah, I was gonna say sometimes it's not, especially in the older ones, it's not handled that great. And Inspector, it's not that great. But the visuals in this one it suits the movie perfect. They look good even for 2024 standards.
Yeah,
this is a film that came out in 1999, and it looks fine.
It's amazing. This is 25 years ago now. That's crazy. Like, but
it helps that they're not going for photorealistic.
Yeah.
It's a stylized title sequence, so it's not supposed to look real. It's just supposed to look cool, and it looks really cool.
But so after the title sequence, we get MI6 in Scotland. So we're used to seeing the London-based MI6 building. Well, now we're at the MI6 in Scotland, and I actually really like this place. In the video game Everything or Nothing, which I'm not sure if you guys have played, but this is where MI6 is at in that game. They're at the Scotland one, which I don't know. I think it's cool,
Yeah, I do too. I think it's awesome. It's just a nice change of scenery.
Exactly. That's the way I view it too.
Is it explained why they're there and Everything or Nothing? Because that game takes place after Die Another Day.
Yeah, I know. It's not explained at all. It's just like they're just there, like
hey, we kind of want to go hang out at our weekend MI6, so we'll be there if you need a mission or whatever. No, I do like it though. I really like the atmosphere of this place for some reason.
Me too. So of course we get Bond meeting with Dr. Warm Flash, which is his hot, sexy daughter. I mean, doctor. Damn, that came out wrong, boys. I'm gonna make sure I edit that part out. Damn, his hot, sexy doctor.
Well, I mean, it's fine for you to call her that. It's not fine what Bond does. It's not fine what Bond does to her
But
in that context. But
so anyway, he meets with his hot, sexy doctor, and pretty much seduces her so he can get a clean bill of health, so he can get back on assignment. You know, where most people would be fine taking some paid time off, Bond's like, no, I want to basically be on the job.
yeah,
So after that, and I just love how, you know, Moneypenny is kind of throwing shade at
she
the doctor,
she
you know,
knows
like,
what happened. Yeah,
like but of course we also see Bond and M. You know, Bond kind of calls M out on some stuff, and we actually realize that M is the one who had persuaded Sir Robert King not to give in to Electra King's kidnappers, who,
yeah.
spoiler alert, was Renard, you know, who had kidnapped her before. So pretty much Bond is thinking, he's like, okay, so it's Renard who's killed Robert King and MI6 and blew up MI6, and now he's got to be going after Electra King. So with Bond's clean bill of health, Bond gets assigned to shadow Electra King. So
What do you guys think of I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
What do you guys think of Renard's condition? The bullet lodged in his head.
I think it's kind of like really situational. It makes him cool, like that he's like I don't know, like unstoppable physically. Like I mean, I guess you could just kill him, but like, you know what I mean. Fighting wise, I think you guys froze. Did I get kicked?
No,
Okay. Did Caleb freeze?
I think Caleb probably froze, but I mean, Caleb kind of freezes once in every one of these podcasts, so I mean, it'll be all right.
Yeah. He'll probably be back in a second.
Oh yeah, he'll be back. So anyway, about Renard's condition, like, I mean, I always thought it was kind of cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
It's definitely it's unique.
yeah, and it kind of actually started with Stamper's character. I think I talked a little bit about this in the Tomorrow Never Dies podcast, but originally Renard's, like, you know, like inability to feel pain was actually, they were going to give that to Stamper in Tomorrow Never Dies. So it's a little bit kind of like something that they just used over.
That could be one of those things that probably they might have wanted to, like, I'm just making shit up. But like, you know how we were talking about like the book, the book adaptation of the film?
Yeah.
You know how like they wouldn't let them add stuff to the book? Like that might have been an idea that they might have wanted to put in the book too, to like flesh stuff out, and then like they carried over to this movie.
I don't know.
Like I'm not saying it was. I'm just saying, like, hypothetically, like you would want to beef up the book.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
So I had an interruption. So yeah. Oh, what did you guys think of Renard's gimmick?
It's cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I liked it.
Oh, yeah, it's fine.
Were you not a fan of it, Caleb?
I'm just, man, that's so frustrating. It's lagging out. I thought it was really cool. I thought it was really
I did
interesting.
too.
So a lot of times the villain just has it's just a scar, just an inexplicable scar. And it
Well, I
doesn't
mean,
really,
as we see in this movie, it kind of comes back to, I mean, it's not all good with Renard,
Right.
even though he can't feel pain. He
Right.
also cannot make love to the woman that he loves later on. You know,
Yeah.
he can't do that. So
That's what makes it so interesting.
yeah, it's a double-edged sword for him. You know, he doesn't have to feel physical pain, but at the same time, he can't feel physical pleasure. So, but anyway, we see Bond go to basically meet Electra King, and he meets her head of security, Davidov, right here. And after meeting Electra's in the middle of expanding her father's oil pipeline, and she basically saves a local area from being, used for the pipeline, which everybody likes. And so she said that she's got to go, what is it, look at the survey lines or something like that. And Bond's like, well, that's good because I've always wanted to do that. So of course, we get a little bit of skiing, and I love that we see Bond back on skis. You know, we haven't seen that since what, Roger Moore and A View to a Kill.
Yeah.
I mean, quite a long time ago.
Just sucks that we don't get any Beach Boys this time.
Yeah, I think that might be for the better, actually. But
just a little bit.
But yeah, like
how jarring would that have been? Can you imagine, like, the movie is fine up until this point, and then they get on skis, the fucking Beach Boys just start blaring. Before we get too deep into this scene, did you guys talk about the Q scene while I was gone?
No, we have not.
We got to touch on that because it is Q's, or this Desmond Llewellyn's last scene is Q.
Yes, and I actually have the car right here.
So, I would like to say that I don't mind this BMW.
No,
like,
I don't either.
This one looks really cool for a BMW, other than the fact that it's like a convertible. But
well, I really don't mind that either. Because now when you want to eject somebody, you don't have to replace that little section of the roof.
Fair. You're right.
But
yeah, like this Q scene, I don't know how we forgot about that. Yeah, this Q scene is the last time we will ever see Desmond Llewellyn in a Bond movie because unfortunately he died in a car accident not long after this was filmed,
Yeah.
Of course, we do also see John Cleese as R.
So I know who John Cleese is. What's he famous for, though, other than this?
Monty Python.
Monty Python.
Okay. So I've seen a bunch of Monty Python stuff. I just could not remember where I knew him from.
It almost seems like he's playing a Monty Python character in this. Or maybe that's just John Cleese.
That's just the way John Cleese is, man. Like,
I wish he could have stuck around.
I do too. I wish he could have. I wish he could have stuck around. Like,
he would not have fit in the Craig.
Yeah, there ain't no way he could have fit in the Craig era.
But if they had stuck with this timeline, I guess you could say they should. It definitely would have had to have kept him.
If we could have got our own little separate universe where they just kept on making Brosnan movies, I mean, I would have been fine seeing John Cleese cover Q's role. But yeah, man, it's go ahead.
I gotta talk about the final shot that we get of Desmond Llewellyn.
That's what I was about to say, man.
Okay, go ahead.
No, you take it. You good?
Okay. Well, when he goes down below the floor, and he's telling Bond, "I've always tried to teach you two things: never let him see you bleed, and always have an escape plan." And he's looking at Bond as he descends. It's kind of touching.
It
right?
really is.
Makes you feel tough.
and like especially when Brosnan says, "You're not planning on retiring soon, are you?" And like it really is like, this is the last time we're ever going to see this guy. Like
for the last couple of movies, they've kind of been,
Minimal.
they picked at each other a little bit.
Yeah.
We talked about in the last movie how their relationship was a little more combative versus in Goldeneye, and when you hear Bond say that, you're not really retiring, are you? Like, it really hammers home the fact that these guys are really good friends at the end of the
Yeah.
day.
Well, I mean, if you just think about it in universe, I mean, these guys have known each other for like
Yeah, that's what I
decades
meant.
now.
Yeah.
I mean, both of them have saved the world. They've been on assignments together, like out in the field together, like
Not too long ago.
yeah, I mean, like, yeah, really, just a few years ago, if you put it in that, but
Yeah.
yeah, man, it really is. This is one of those old tearjerker moments when you realize, hey, man, this guy actually died like just a little bit after this. Like,
I don't really want to say it like this, just in the context of the character, not Desmond Llewellyn himself, but it's just kind of let's say in a perfect world, this was his final movie and he retired. And we'll just leave it at that. This send-off was perfect.
yeah,
I don't think you could have done it better.
I agree. I think I'm just sad that it is his final time.
Yeah.
It sucks that he passed after this anyway. But you got to think, man, we've spent more time with him than we have any one Bond.
I know. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Like, ridiculous in a way that, like, such a small character became like one of the biggest staples in the franchise.
He was not, I don't think he was supposed to be as big a part. I know he was not supposed to be as big a part in The Living Daylights. Like, I mean, obviously when they penned the script, he was. I'm just saying, like, had they thought of that movie back in the 60s, like, hey, eventually we'll make this movie. That, like, there's no way they would have said, oh, yeah, but we got to have Q be the sidekick. Like, the reason he was so prominent in that movie is because of Desmond Llewellyn. He just made him such a likable character.
Yeah. It's just,
yeah, it's sad. It's really sad.
It's sad. I can't really put it to words. Like, I know you guys have spent way more time like with him than I have, and I already know how mixed up I feel about it. So
yeah.
Well, I mean, every type of Bond fan feels this. Even the ones that's been watching it for 31 years, or the one that's been watching it for 3 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's
everybody likes Q, man. I've never met one Bond fan that don't like Desmond Llewellyn as Q. I mean, I met people who don't like Sean Connery or Roger Moore or Daniel Craig, but everybody
loves Q. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's the World Is Not Enough VHS, the one that I had anyway, has a little memorial thing at the very beginning, or I think it's it's before the titles and gun barrel and all that. So, and I like, even as a kid, I always thought that was like a really sweet thing that they did. I wish I could. I'm sure it's on YouTube, but yeah. If for the audience, I guess if y'all have never seen that, it's worth Googling or searching on YouTube. It's a really cool little montage.
Yes. So anyway, back to where we were at. I think we were at the
ski sequence.
Skis.
Yeah.
And as I said, it's good seeing Bond skiing again, and I mean, I think Brosnan looks cool. He's got his jacket that's got the thing that comes out, his inflatable jacket on.
The bubble shield from Halo.
Yeah, yeah. And he's got his sunglasses on, and he's, skiing and doing all sorts of stuff and shooting down Parahawks. And, in the game, you shoot down Parahawks, but in this one, he just, like does all sorts of maneuvers. And, then what I like is when that one Parahawk drives off the mountain and Brosnan says, "See you back at the lodge." Then like he does the parachute and it's like, oh shit, it's not over yet, like. But,
I thought that was really funny.
Well, like,
and as as much of a stretch as it is, I like the scene of him jumping and then cutting the parachute with a ski.
Yes.
That like okay, I was fine with that, but then when they crash into each other, like,
Yeah.
okay. That level was so fun though, by the way.
Yeah.
In the
So
game.
what system did you play the game on?
Both. I had it,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Um,
The PS1 one was good. I
Yeah.
liked it. But the N64 game just it ran so well.
so much
Like
better.
yeah, just I mean on a technical level, like it seemed far better optimized.
Yeah.
Because I just remember and okay, maybe I shouldn't say all this because it's been so long. I'm definitely looking at it through rose tinted glasses, but it just at the time it seemed like it was a more optimized, more polished version as opposed to the PS1 game. But they were both fun.
Yeah. Like I totally agree with everything you just said. Now, I mean, I liked the PlayStation 1 version. It was just a different experience. You just did, I mean, both games were really different from each other, you know.
That's another cool thing. Like maybe one's more polished than the other, sure, but the fact that you could play one version of The World Is Not Enough and then play another,
Yeah.
and I mean they've got pretty distinct differences.
And one thing I will say that, I mean, this is really something for the PlayStation 1 version, but I remember thinking it was so cool that the game had scenes from the movie on it.
Yeah, oh
'Cause,
yeah.
you know, it was a disc game. They did stuff like that. I remember thinking that was really awesome whenever I was a kid. And
Man, I forgot all about yeah, they used to do that a lot, and
yeah.
especially with like movie tie-in games.
Mhm. And I really thought that was cool. And like one thing I want to say about the Game Boy Color version of this game is it had a gun barrel sequence on it. Like the Game Boy game,
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Man, that's what our video should open with is the Game Boy.
it should.
That'll be all.
The Game Boy logo or the Game Boy gun barrel?
The Game Boy
Game Boy gun barrel.
Okay.
Each one of our videos just opens with a Game Boy gun barrel. Like, I would love that.
Well, it was a
I was
pretty
gonna
cool
say-
little gun barrel, actually. Like it wasn't bad. Like
Oh, I know. Yeah, that's the one thing that I remember because I had that game too.
okay.
Yeah, I didn't play it much because it was really hard.
Yes, it was. Like
And I was 5, 6 at the time, maybe. So I could play Goldeneye just fine. I had to have my dad read the text prompts for me half the time, but yeah, I do remember the gun barrel being really good in that game.
but yeah, man, like this whole ski sequence, I don't know. I'm just a sucker for Bond in snow and Bond skiing. But of course, we see Bond use his inflatable jacket gadget, and we see him use his Omega watch to light the room up. And him and Electra have a emotional connection here, where Bond's comforting her.
Yeah, this scene really illustrates how. I mean, she's traumatized.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's a really sweet moment with her and Bond. He kind of consoles her.
Yeah. So
I mean,
go ahead.
so like Caleb's talking about her being traumatized is like, do you mean like you think her being trapped like that reminds her of her imprisonment?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, she's got to have some emotional damage, I guess.
Well, I mean, she's freaking out to like an abnormal level because like she's not freaking out because those guys were after her. She's freaking out because of the snow.
Right? Yeah, she's
trapped, whatever. So I was just wondering if that was like a psychoanalyzation of like her reliving her.
Yeah, I guess I was thinking that like that excitement, that much excitement, I guess, just kind of through her. Yeah, just kind of like, well, it's some sort of PTSD.
Yeah. That makes sense. I was wondering like how you meant it. So
yeah.
I'm
now-
looking to it.
Sorry.
I'm just looking too into it.
Oh no, that's sort of one of the positives about this movie, and it's a negative at the same time because you've got this really three-dimensional character, Elektra. There's just so much potential here, and especially her dynamic with Renard, which I've already said that his character sort of lacks sufficient development.
Right.
Man, like there is a really interesting character story here that we just don't get. We just get little hints of it here or there, and that's fine. Like you can have those sort of characters, and you can leave it ambiguous. And
So like if he was the main villain, they don't give him enough fleshing out. But like at the end of the movie, when you realize he's the main henchman, it kind of fits.
okay, yeah, and in that sense, yeah, you're right. What I meant is, I guess I just needed a little more because at some point he falls in love with Elektra, right?
Right.
Or
Right.
or is this me misunderstanding it? Has it been Elektra masterminding this from the very beginning?
Well, so I
Or-
think she was kidnapped. I don't
Okay,
know why.
that's
I don't know why he kidnapped her. I don't know if they said it, but like, I guess the two fall in love. He might have kidnapped her because he had the hots for her, but it seems like she was a child at the time. So
she's
dude's automatically,
yeah.
Huh?
It's implied that she was very young. Yeah.
yeah. So dude's automatically a pervert and a bad guy. He's a bad guy
Yeah.
because he's a pervert. But like the fact that they do fall in love, and the fact that she uses him like she does is like just
Okay.
ice on the cake, I guess.
Yeah, I got you.
So Renard is an anarchist, which means that, you don't believe in any government. And also a lot of anarchists are also against capitalists. All right.
Well, yeah.
So Electra's family would definitely be capitalists. All right.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
Renard and his guys kidnapped Electra King before the events of the movie happened. Okay.
That's the way I initially understood it.
And that was him actually kidnapping her. That was not something she masterminded.
Okay.
But when he kidnapped her, Electra realized that her father was not going to pay the demands that Renard and his men wanted.
Which sort of made her do a 180.
Which Electra was like, okay, so my father's not going to pay the money for me, so he doesn't really care. And
Yeah, knowing that launched her into full-on Stockholm syndrome.
So pretty much what she does, she's like, okay, I'm going to seduce this guy, get him on my side. And like, I mean, it even says Renard, like pretty much Renard killed his own men to let Electra go. So it make it look like she escapes.
Yeah,
that makes
okay.
So pretty much she turned Renard into her own.
So it's almost like he's the one with Stockholm
He's
syndrome.
the one with Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah.
Electra is actually the one that has masterminded this. She's not in love with Renard. Renard is in love with her.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. Like,
Yeah.
you probably put it a lot better than I could have, but that's like, I just needed more of that.
Yeah.
I needed that I just needed a little more explaining. And I'm not talking about spoon feed me. Like you don't have to just shovel it down my throat. But I just wanted to hear or see more of that because it is a really interesting part of those two characters.
Yeah, it definitely is interesting, but I understand why they don't show us more, because if they did show us more of that, literally like the movie would be, well, like we would already know what's going to happen. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. But I guess so. Toward the end of the movie, her whole thing starts to sort of start coming unraveled.
Yeah.
And Bond starts figuring out, okay, Renard's working for you actually. So maybe at that point you can start, letting us have a few little more details about that and flesh it out a little more. I don't know. I'm not a writer. There's probably a good reason. I don't know. I just feel like Renard is not developed at
Yeah, I mean,
all.
I understand that.
Yeah, and it's not to say he's a bad villain. I really do. I do like his addition to this movie.
So, like, I think the way I just had to look at it, because this is my second time viewing it, like, I think I just had to look at him like he's a henchman. Because if you look at it like
yeah,
if you look at it like he's a henchman, like he's out there doing a lot.
Yeah.
Like he's not Necros, but like he's menacing. He's doing crazy shit. Like he's definitely mental. Like he's a pretty good henchman. Like maybe one of the best.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
most definitely. I mean,
Yeah, that's a good way to look. Okay,
crazy stuff.
I will give it this much credit. I think Renard is better developed than Jaws.
I like Jaws better, man.
I think that's fair to say.
Don't do that to Jaws, man. He's indestructible.
Well, Renard can't feel pain.
Neither could Jaws.
Probably not. He's probably too stupid to feel pain.
So after the Parahawk incident, we actually go to Valentin Zukovsky's casino. And we see Bond kind of doing a little bit of, I don't know if I would say interrogation, but just questioning, just some questioning of Zukovsky. And of course, this is when we see old Robbie Coltrane come back. And we also see Bullion, played by Goldie. And I just love the scene when Brosnan says, "I see you put your money where your mouth is," because he's got gold teeth. I love that scene.
Yeah.
That's one of the best lines in this movie.
Hey, Colton, it's almost as good as "Good morning, good night."
Oh yeah, it really is.
I think I like this line better.
But anyway, so Zukovsky talks about Renard, and also we see Electra King coming into the casino, and she goes and plays a very simple gambling game called high card, just just drawing, see who would draw the highest card, which I like how Bond says, go ahead and bury the first three cards, because he's automatically thinking, okay, Zukovsky's rigged this game, So I kind of like that.
Yeah.
But of course,
what I found funny about that is Zukovsky doesn't take offense to that. He's like,
yep,
he's pretty much like, yeah,
do it. But so Electra loses $1 million right here, which Bond is still thinking that she's just being reckless. But turns out what she's actually doing, what is paying off Zukovsky's nephew, who we later on figure out that he is transporting nuclear material on his submarine for Renard. But we'll get to that part later on in the movie. And of course, we see Bond go home with Electra and finally gives in to Electra's seductive ways.
I don't know how he lasted that long, dude.
I know, for real. She's beautiful, isn't she?
Like banging, like dude's got like iron will, because I don't know, ain't much you can say.
Yeah, she's pretty bad.
One of them, she's up there, like maybe top 5.
And Caleb, I don't know if you remember this level of the video game, but I think it was called Night Shift, and it was like in the N64 game, you were like creeping around basically the outside of her manor, and you could use like X-ray goggles to see through like hedge mazes and stuff.
Yep, you had to avoid the guards. Yeah.
Yeah, and the PlayStation 1 version, you would start out in the bedroom with Electra laying on the bed asleep, and you would have to like go around, and of course, if the guards saw you, they would try to raise the alarm.
Yep.
And it was a pretty cool little level. I mean, I always enjoyed it.
I just
I
remember
remember
it being.
thinking it was really hard, but
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's the only thing I remember about that level is it being very hard.
yeah. But now on the Game Boy Color, this was one of the hardest levels I've ever played. I never beat it on the Game Boy Color.
Yeah, I was about to say, I wouldn't know. I
It
never
was
made it that far.
well, that was the farthest I made it in the game. Like playing it from the first mission, like um, I made it to this level on it, and like it was just so ridiculously hard. I have no idea how people played that without save states.
Now that now that you mention it, and now that I'm thinking about it, trying remembering back to the Game Boy version, I don't think I made it past the gun barrel. I think the gun barrel was too hard for me.
Too hard,
All you
man.
had to do was press the A button.
But
Jesus
so so after the love scene between Bond and Electra, we see that Bond has gotten up and is actually following um following Davidov. And we see Davidov who is making a like I just love how he like takes the camera and takes his own little ID picture. Um and I love the scene where like Davidov opens the back just to see James Bond just laying there, who just pulls his gun out and just kills him right there. Like
Yep.
that's a that's a pretty cold scene. Even though Davidov is a terrible human being, I really do like that scene. It just shows you that Bond is he's a killer and he will do it if he needs to.
Yep. That's something that's very present in these Brosnan movies. Bond will kill because it is his job.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you just gotta remove an obstacle, even if it's by shooting it.
I also like how, of course, Bond, he gets the bag out of Davidov's car, after he killed him, and he goes up and one of the guys like, where's Davidov? He's like, well, he's buried with work, and he's about to get on the plane, and that guy's like, do you have the stuff? Do you have the grease? And Brosnan pulls out them shoes, and he's like, he looks at him, he says, excellent.
Yeah.
Just such a weird scene, but like I love it. Like
I was thinking like when he says that he hit the grease, Bond stops, and I'm like, I guess I just sort of imagine myself in that situation, like, oh man, I'd freak out. I don't know what he's talking about.
If I was Bond, I'd be like, what in the hell are you talking about?
I'd be like, I hope like hell it's in this bag. And it's tennis shoes. And if I had seen that, I open the bag and I see tennis shoes on, I'd be like, that's definitely not what he's talking about.
That's definitely not the grease.
Yeah. And then he'd be like, excellent.
But I really like this next scene. We see Bond with his pocket knife out and he's cutting his Universal Exports card. He's putting that in the ID badge.
Yeah, it's old school Photoshop.
Yeah. And I just love seeing like him in this blue jumpsuit, it's got the red star on the back and it's blue. And I don't know. I just think that's a cool
look. Yeah.
I'm still here, guys.
Oh, okay. I will say this. My one gripe about this whole sequence, it's after they've gotten off the plane.
Yeah.
Bond's Russian accent is not good.
Yeah, it's not.
And it's bad when a nuclear physicist is the one that picks up on it and not the actual Russians.
Yeah, like a nuclear physicist who's not Russian at all. Like,
right, that's what I'm saying. Like she's like that one in particular does not sound Russian.
Yeah, like but
and then he actually like speaks a little Russian, and she's still like, all right, you're not off the hook.
Of course, we see Bond going down into the into the decommissioned missile silo.
Dude, okay, real quick, she straight up talking shit to him, like the guy that he is supposed to be, like the guy that he's disguised as. She's like, I've been here for however long cleaning up your mess. You remember that part?
Yes.
And I was thinking like, the guy that he is portraying is probably a lot more accomplished than you, so maybe show him a little respect.
Yeah. I mean, it's Dr. Arkoff. You know, like,
Right.
So I just want to know what you guys like. Number one, what do you guys think about Denise Richards anyway?
oh, I mean, I'll be straight with you guys. I don't mind her here like at all. Like, I mean, I know a lot of people hated on her for this movie, but I mean, I don't really mind her in this part like at all. I mean, I think she's fine. Like, I mean, fine as a character and both fine like visually. I mean, I do think
Physically,
she's very
yeah.
attractive.
Right. So like this is the only movie I think she's attractive in, if that makes any sense. Like, and I don't hate her character in this movie, but like I don't like Denise Richards.
You know?
To be honest with you, other than like maybe some promotional stills or movie posters, I think this is the only thing I've ever actually seen her play in.
Yeah, I mean, it is me. I will tell you, I've never seen another movie with her in it ever. I'm like,
I just
You know,
don't. Oh, I'm sorry.
I think I've seen her in TV shows, but I don't remember what TV.
Maybe. I'll just say this: I just don't think she's a strong actor. But if we are looking at her in reference to other actresses who have played Bond girls in the past, she's right. You know, she's right on par. So
I don't know. I feel like she. Okay, so this is bad. I'm not talking bad about her as a character, but I feel like like being a Bond girl requires at least like some level of class. I feel like she doesn't have
that okay. That's
that
a good
class,
way to put it.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense, and that may be what I meant by not a strong actress. She just does not. Her screen presence doesn't really gel. Does that?
I think
Does that
she
make
was miscast.
Oh yeah. That's fair.
If that makes
She-
sense.
She doesn't fit.
And like it's not because she's American, I don't think.
No, I don't think that's no.
And it's not like she gives her a real I also don't think it's because she gives a real bad performance either. It's not stale. It's just like I think we could have gotten something better from somebody else, maybe.
It just seems like she's on the wrong set. Like she was supposed to go to another soundstage and just accidentally wound up on Bond, and they're like, "Well, you're pretty. Roll the camera."
I don't believe that she's a scientist. I don't think that's very believable at all.
Okay, that's the biggest thing. Maybe if they
Yeah.
had given her another part, like maybe she was the caterer to the,
Yeah,
for
maybe.
lunch that day.
Maybe she's the birthday cake stripper. Like, I don't know. Like, who was the doctor in Moonraker?
Holly Goodhead.
Okay, Holly Goodhead, believable doctor. Christmas Jones, not a believable doctor.
It's almost like they knew that and tried to make up for it by giving her a less innuendo-ish name.
I feel like the only reason her name was Christmas was for the cum joke at the end of
Oh yeah, oh
That's
God, dude.
That's what I thought too.
I'm sorry, guys.
Hey, you good?
Sometimes Roger Moore thinks through.
Yeah, he does.
At the end, after Bond goes down into this silo and he finds Renard, he pretty much pulls a gun on him and he's getting ready to just kill him. And Renard utters, Electra's line, there's more point in living than feeling alive.
I meant to bring that up.
There's no point in living if you don't feel alive, right?
Yep.
Right.
I meant to bring that up just for the audience's benefit. That's the line that she says right before she loses that large amount of money at Zukowski's casino. And I really like that line. I think it's kind of badass.
There's a lot of good lines in this movie.
Yeah.
Like specifically between her and James.
I agree. They just have really good chemistry, I think.
Also, can I harken on something with Robbie Coltrane? So Robbie Coltrane was the casino, right? And he mentions his caviar endeavors, right? Talking about going legit. Huh?
Zukovsky's finest.
Yeah. Zerkovsky's finest, like his caviar and everything. So, like, jumping forward later in the movie, like, it's beluga caviar, and the caviar facility is in the Caspian Sea, which is a reference in my head to what was it?
On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Or whenever Lason's be like, "Oh, beluga, north of the Caspian."
Yeah. So like that in my head, like that's like a one of the few references to that film in this movie.
I'll tell you another reference that I caught. It's very subtle. You might not have picked up on it, but the character in this movie, James Bond,
Oh yeah,
is the same character from On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Did you catch that?
No, man. You just blew my mind.
I'm really glad you brought up that line though. I forgot all about that, and I loved that line in On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
So like I've said that line like every 2 or 3 videos since that video. And like Jonathan has never said anything back to me about it in none of these videos. I think it's because he doesn't hear it. Either he's trying to get the podcast done with. But I say it at random times. So like it's become one of my favorite lines to quote. So it was kind of nice for me seeing that in this one.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, Colton.
I'm sorry.
Glad you've had your 15 minutes of fame here.
Jesus, John.
Doing your damn beluga caviar.
North of the Caspian.
North of the Caspian.
My standout moment in this scene is Bond on the track, that carries the nuke.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah,
Perfect.
just running away from the explosion, holding on to the chains, and then jumping through the little opening in the hydraulic door.
And then he's like, stop, dropping, and rolling.
They didn't have to include that.
But they did.
It's an odd choice, but they did.
The fact that they have James Bond flying in on an industrial slick swing only to teach us about fire safety makes this scene 10 out of 10 for me, man.
All right.
There are no limits to the lengths once you go to hammer home fire safety.
Yeah. Did a bang up job of it.
For sure.
And then we get Bond repelling with the watch. What did you guys think of that?
I thought it was cool.
Oh, I like it, but it's kind of funny, isn't it? Like
it is now. Like as a kid, I remember that being like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, but
like
watching now, it now, guys, it really is funny seeing Brosnan do that. He does it, then he just it's like I don't know how to explain it.
What was out at the time? What other movies were out? Like what was because these movies are like at this point in the series they are taking influence from other franchises. So what? Like when I saw that scene, I was like, okay, Spider-Man's not out yet.
To be.
Huh?
Was Tomb Raider out yet?
I don't know. The one with Angelina Jolie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But what I'm getting at is like what because that's the second instance of this sort of gadget that we've gotten, one in Goldeneye and now the watch with this movie. So it's not a huge deal. I was just wondering maybe you guys might have had an idea what might have been influence in this movie.
I don't know. I remember it being a very big feature in the video game, in the PS1 and especially the N64 version of this game. And even going on in Agent Under Fire and Nightfire, grapple hooks were a big thing in those games. So I mean, it's a very
Yes.
comic book is a very video gamey thing to begin with.
Yeah. And then we get this. Well, okay, so they rappel out, and then they get on that elevator, and Bond shoots like the hydraulic release or something like that. And this whole scene, it just looks like it was shot specifically for the trailer,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
yeah, it is. Yes,
But it's a cool scene, the way he delivers, James Bond.
yes, I agree totally. But it is very much something you could see. Man, we're going to put that in the trailer, and it's going to be so badass.
Yeah.
Like yeah, that's what they were thinking at that point. Good observation there, Caleb.
So that gets big Batman vibes. I don't know if it's just 'cause, I'm going to say it. I don't know if it's just because, like, the whole Russian sequence in the Flash film, if you guys watched that. Okay, so you know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Okay, so Jonathan doesn't, but Caleb does. Like, the whole Russian sequence in the Flash film with Michael Keaton using his little weight and, like, them blowing up out of there. I was like, I feel like that was, like, a straight ripoff of this movie.
I literally, okay, yeah, when that scene came up, when he's, like, adjusting the weight and all that stuff, I'm like, I think I know what's fixing to happen. And I've seen this in another movie.
Yep, yeah. I'm glad it wasn't only me that had that feeling. So kudos. Sorry, John.
I like how
There you go.
I like how the how we're gonna refer to her, Dr. Jones.
Yeah, Dr. Jones.
Indiana Jones's niece.
Sure. I like how she's like, oh, don't worry, we can track the nuke with every one of them has a tracker chip, and Bond goes,
One of these.
you mean one of these?
It is pretty funny.
So pretty much after this, this is when Bond realizes, okay, something's not, the math ain't mathing, as they would say about Elektra. So he goes and confronts Elektra. We see him knock out Gabor, which is one of her bodyguards. And she's pretty much saying, oh, you're going crazy. And she says, I've called him. So then we see them going to one of the pump station, one of the pipeline's pump stations, and M's there, and she's really pissed off at Bond. And Bond's straight up like, this girl's not as innocent as you think she is. And M's like, so she killed her father? She's
M's like, you've lost your mind.
Exactly. But Bond's sticking by, what he feels is right, which is actually turned out to be right. After we see Bond and Christmas Jones in the pipeline, we realize, hey, the plutonium's missing, and someone had stripped the screw heads out of there too. So there had obviously been some tampering with it. So Bond acts on his gut instinct and lets the pipeline blow, because he knows, hey, if this blows up, then I'm going to be dead, theoretically. So if something does go wrong, I mean, if Elektra is, batting for the wrong team, she's probably going to do it right now. So he acts on that impulse, and turns out that's what happens. She kills, she has some of her men kill some of the MI6 guards, takes M hostage, and kind of sets up the third act of the movie.
Real quick, so the scene that you were talking about earlier, where Bond kills her bodyguard.
Yeah,
and
it beats him up, knocks him out.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he's not dead. I'm sorry, because he's actually in the scene that you're just talking about. Yeah,
he does kill him later on in the movie.
Yeah, but okay. So anyway, Bond and Elektra are going to have a conversation, and he's sort of grilling her like, "Hey, I'm starting to sort of pick up on what's going on." And he's saying how Renard knew about his shoulder and all that stuff. Brosnan sounds particularly Irish.
Yes,
in this scene.
Really comes out, doesn't? Hey, knows all about my shoulder.
My shoulder, yeah, and my lucky charms.
Yeah, he really did. Yeah, I understand what
I don't know. It's just like, it's just the way he delivers those lines is like, hey, you're definitely Irish. Sorry, I had to point that out.
Oh, it's all good. And this kind of leads on to our next Zukovsky scene, which is this part is one of my favorite parts of the movie. We get him at the caviar factory, and in the game, this portion of the game was called City of Walkways. It's where you're at Zukovsky's caviar factory, and like you're fighting guys off and shooting down helicopters. It's one of my favorite parts of the video game. Actually, some of Zukovsky's men are in the game too, and they're fighting Electra King's guys. But in the movie, Bond pretty much tells Zukovsky, he's like, they're working together, and Zukovsky's like, well, I didn't know that, like,
Yeah, but that transaction took place at his casino, so
you're flipping casino, dude. Like,
you were actually there when it happened.
it's like you facilitated.
Yes, yeah.
But
okay, I'm going to point out one more of one of my gripes. My first positive. The Brosnan run handles the cars really well. Like the BMW and the gadgets here is just put to great use.
Yeah.
Like all that stuff is executed well, but it's undercut by this cheesy scene of the building collapsing, and then Zukovsky saying the insurance is never gonna believe this. Like, man,
one part I do like is whenever the car gets sawed in half.
I do like that.
I
okay,
like when
yes.
Zukovsky, like you see him afterwards, and like because Brosnan's over there like shaking his head, and Zukovsky's like kind of like,
Okay, I said I like that, and then you get that shot of Zukovsky like, okay, I didn't care for that. Like,
What?
the comic relief
Oh,
part of Bond saying, "Oh, Q's not gonna like this." I laughed, and then as if that wasn't enough, you had to have Zukovsky over there like, like
oh
fucking
no, I totally
Nelson
like
from
that.
The Simpsons.
Dude, that is perfect because Zukovsky's pissed at James anyway. He's been,
I know, but it's like it's
I thought it was
too
funny.
much. But
I don't know. I disagree for sure.
okay, look, yeah, obviously we have different palettes. That's fine.
Yeah,
You're wrong. You're wrong. But
I'm fucking wrong then. I don't care, man. It's funny.
But my gripe is just the tone. It just has these peaks and valleys. Like it's all over the place.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know, man. Robbie Coltrane's tone is like he's like the Russian Jack Wade in this movie.
Yes.
And it's what we needed.
Right. And it's not his fault. Like,
very true.
Well, I mean, to y'all, there is no fault, but
very true.
It's just like,
I mean, I'll be straight with you. I'm all for Robbie Coltrane doing it.
No, I am too. I am too. It's just it's the beats.
I understand what you're saying, Caleb.
Yeah.
But yeah, like this caviar factory scene, I like it. And I do like seeing Brosnan, had his cane at the end, and he's helping him, get out of the caviar, We actually see that cane later on in this movie turn into something else. But,
what's that rule of thumb about a gun?
Chernov's gun.
Yep.
Or Chekhov, whatever the heck it is.
In this case, it's Zukovsky's gun.
But of course, this next scene we see M uses the locator card, which we see Bond and Zukovsky at a FSB safe house. So we actually see Zukovsky, even though he's a gangster now and a casino owner and a legitimate businessman of the caviar business, he's also still a little bit connected to intelligence matters out as he goes to a safe house of the FSB in Istanbul. And then of course the bomb goes off there. And of course Bond runs out where he's apprehended by old Bullion and Gabor.
Yep. And taken to
Maiden's Tower.
Yep.
So what do you guys think about the Maiden's Tower scene? We get Brosnan being tortured we get some pain faces from Brosnan. You know, the signature Brosnan pain face. You know, he's like, you know,
Oh, he sells it well.
he does a good job of it. I
Oh
gotta
yeah,
say.
it's not over the top. I mean,
I mean, can you imagine how bad that would be getting that thing?
That's what I'm saying.
My
Like,
God.
So,
but real quick, I'm not going to spend very long, but this is what I'm talking about. We just had Zukowski joking around about his caviar business being demolished, and now we get this dark scene of Bond being strapped to this torture device and having his neck slowly broken. You know what I mean? Like,
and but I do like what Brosnan says. He says one last screw. You know what I mean? Like, but of course, after he mutters that out, we see. Oh, hold up! I think I might be getting it a little bit. I don't know if I messed up or not, but of course, Zukovsky comes. You know, he didn't die in that blast. He comes in, shoots Alexa's guards, which is pretty much like his badass moment of the whole.
Oh yeah, I agree. And I was gonna say this reminded me of the Living Daylights, where you know who I'm talking about. They infiltrate well,
Whitaker's.
I'm gonna stop here because I cannot remember any of their names right now, but you know what I'm talking about.
But and like Zukovsky comes in and he says, "I'm looking for a submarine. It's big and black, and its driver is a very good friend of mine." You know, talking about his nephew, and then he looks over and sees the hat there. You know,
Yep.
And of course he's like, "Bring it to me." Well, of course, Elektra takes the opportunity to shoot Zukovsky with the gun, and of course he's on the floor. But he's not out. He uses his last bullet, and I don't really know if you guys think Zukovsky dies here. There's a deleted scene of Bond going and checking Zukovsky's pulse, kind of indicating that he might have lived. But we see Zukovsky using his last bullet in his cane gun to shoot Bond's this thing,
right.
you know,
the brace off his wrist.
yes. And I just love how Electra's like, "Wow, Zukovsky really hated you."
Mm-hmm.
So I want to say one thing. I have loved Elektra this whole movie. Like, she's one of my favorites. Like, her whole arc is crazy, but like, she's nuts. She's psycho,
Yes.
and I was not mad at her until she killed him.
Yeah. Yeah. That
Yeah, I mean, like, seriously, I understand.
it's almost by design. It's like they realize, hey, this is a really likable villain. We gotta we gotta give the audience a reason to be on Bond's side when he kills her.
Of course, Bond breaks free and he kills Gabor here. And of course, Elektra says, "You can't kill me," and he runs up to the room. Well, hold up. Before, on his way of running up to the room, he like stops and just like shoots the lock off M's cell.
That was just so random. Like, hey, like how did she? So it's like has she yelled Bond at everybody going up those stairs?
Yeah. But and so then he confronts Elektra, and guys, this has got to be one of the coldest moments in any Bond film. Like, literally, James Bond kills an unarmed woman point blank. Like, I mean, shoots her point blank. Like, it's a wild scene. And but it's cold, but it's also, it just shows you what kind of a man James Bond is. And I also think that we're supposed to believe that Bond actually felt something more for this woman too. Like, I think this is supposed to be a little bit more than just a random woman that, he meets up and, gets off with, and then that's it. I think we're supposed to believe he might feel something more for her. And
Yeah, I wouldn't describe it as romantic. I feel like there is some sort of connection
yeah,
because at first he really felt the need to protect her.
yeah.
So yeah, I think there is some emotional connection there. I think the movie does a really good job of portraying that.
Not only what you just said, Caleb, also I think the film frames the whole scene through M's perspective well. Like
Yes,
when it shows Judi Dench's reaction to what James
yes,
do, like you realize she knows he does messed up stuff,
yeah.
but
It's
she
like yeah, it's okay. Sorry, but something just clicked. It's like yeah, she realizes in this moment that
how messed up,
she
like
is
how
sending
cold.
him to do this sort of stuff all the time, and it's just now in this moment that she's actually seeing it.
Well, she's probably realizing that like while he is this tool, he's a person too.
Yes, yeah,
Like this scene encapsulates James's humanity and his feelings for a woman. It's juxtaposed with the cold kill machine is like it's really, really, really framed really well.
yeah, yeah. Wow. Yeah,
Good job,
there's
Colton.
a there's a yeah there's a lot to this scene.
A lot to unpack.
Yep, and like Jonathan said, I do really like that Bond just straight up kills her because he has
I
to
heard that shit.
because and he even says she says you wouldn't kill me, you'd miss me, and then
Yes.
I never miss.
hey, at the end of the day, he's just a professional doing a job.
Yep. That's Bond. That's Bond. I mean, hey, man, for the most dirty jobs, man, you know, Bond still delivers, even if it is doing something like this. That's what the double O's do.
Yeah,
And of course, we see Bond finish off the assignment by diving down into the sub and rescuing Dr. Jones. And earlier we talked about the 1911. We see Bond with the 1911 again here, and he was holding up one of Renard's crew members, using him as a hostage. And we get a little bit of gunplay down here. And at the end, we see Bond and Renard. They're fighting, and Renard's pretty much Renard's kind of beating Bond, and Bond uses a little bit of sadism whenever he's like, haven't you heard? Elektra's dead. Like that scene right there.
Dude, the fact that he was able to do that is just like messed up. Like honestly. Like he had a connection with it too, and he's like, you know what? He's like, I've got to like save the world.
Yeah.
I've got to some old messed up stuff.
that's why he's in the position that he's in because it's like he's got a switch up there that he can just turn off. It's like, all right, feelings are off. Time to
That's
get on the
right.
job.
Yep. I mean, Bond knows how to do that. He knows how to separate his emotions from the job he's got to do. That's
Well, not all the
and
time,
not all, well,
but
especially not in the Craig era. But I mean,
We're talking about the classical Bond
we're
era.
talking about the classic
hey,
Bond.
we're talking about the badass Pierce Brosnan guys.
We're not talking about the same guy who cries over a woman for 5 films.
That's a good point.
But I have to say, man, every time I see Renard get impaled with that flipping rod, man, God,
That hurts.
yes,
Have you guys ever been hit in the stomach real hard?
yes.
Like you've been winded. Can you imagine that?
Dude,
That's the feeling that I get like every time I watch that scene.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. And
like he didn't, but like, so he didn't feel it, but then like it killed him. So like he's just like flying across the thing. He's like, "What happened?" And then he dies.
Yeah.
Um,
That sort of speaks to your point earlier, Jonathan, when you were saying that he can't feel pleasure. It's like, when does somebody like that realize that they need to stop? Because they can't really,
yeah.
you
Yeah,
know,
they don't know.
the signals aren't being sent to, to your brain. Your body can't tell your brain to stop. So
Something I will say, do you guys remember at the beginning of the movie when they're in MI6 and like Dr. Warmflash is telling us, she's like, one day the bullet inside Renard's brain will actually kill him.
yeah,
But until then, he's going to be stronger and can go harder than any other man.
yeah,
Yeah.
So in the novelization, Raymond Benson states that like Renard is actually about to die anyway at this moment. Like the bullet is about to kill him anyway.
That's nuts.
At the end of this, like at this part in the submarine, he's actually about to die anyway.
yeah.
I just thought that's a interesting thing to point
It
out.
is interesting. Yeah.
But of course, him and Christmas Jones get away just in the nick of time. The submarine blows up, but doesn't cause a nuclear meltdown. And
I'm glad that they explained that to the audience really quick. It's like Bond turns to the camera and is like, "It's okay, because of this," and then swims away.
but
So I would just like to say for what this scene is, our submarine scenes in the past have been really good about building suspense. When Bond goes out and he's holding his breath, and then he comes back in and he's still holding his breath, and it's been like 5 minutes, and she still hasn't hit the button. Dude, if I was him, I would be freaking out. Like, I know James Bond's like calm, cool, and collected. I would be like, "Oh my god, where is she at with the button?"
Yeah, no, I feel you. I don't care how trained you are.
No,
After 5 minutes of holding your breath, yeah. Like,
it just be
let me
insane.
in.
Yeah.
but of course, we get the last part of the movie where the comment that Colton mentioned earlier is said about.
Actually, in my head canon, the movie's already over. So,
Yeah.
this scene doesn't exist.
So one thing I want to bring up, guys, and I hinted at this in a few earlier podcasts. I don't know which one it was, but on the soundtrack to this movie, there is one song. I think it's called "No One to Blame But Me" or something like that, and it's basically talking about how someone could, you could let your guard down and let someone come into your life, and basically, you're to blame because you let somebody ruin your life. It has to do with Bond and Electra, and that was actually supposed to be the song that plays at the credits. But of course, at the end of the movie, we get Bond getting it off with, Dr. Jones. So we end the movie on a good note. But if just knowing that there was a song that was going to address Bond, letting his guard down, with Electra King, and maybe wanting a little bit more, and then it turns out, hey, she screwed you over just like everybody else did. I don't know that you need to listen to the song. It's I can't remember what the name of it was, but on another Bond podcast they talked about it and they played it on there. That's where I originally heard it from.
Yeah, let's
That
kind of
podcast is on Her Majesty's Secret Podcast. If anybody would like to know, that's
okay. That's sort of what we were talking about in the License to Kill episode. It's almost like the producers are too afraid to end on a somber note.
yeah. It's always got to be,
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
you've always James Bond's going to be okay.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like it's okay. Like it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to end with everything's perfect now. You know what I mean? Like, because some bad shit happened. It's okay.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
But I liked that they didn't have a song there, and they just played the theme at the end of the movie, and they said that James Bond will return. Like other than the whole. Okay, so like, I liked the scene with the people at MI6 and the heat vision stuff. I thought that was funny. The Christmas joke was just, it is what it is. It's just,
Pretty
it's
on the
funny.
nose.
Yeah. It's funny, but it's on the nose. It's just, it's in poor taste. But like the fact that they just say James Bond will return and then they play the theme, now it was nice to just hear the theme at the end of the movie. It was a good change of pace for me, I think.
It's like, man, I can't think of any one-liners. Go look in that drawer that says 70s Roger Moore era Bond movie unused one-liners. Yeah, that'll work.
Roger Moore actually wrote this line. What would you say here, Roger? What's the name again?
Yeah. That's not that far-fetched.
So one thing I wanted to show y'all, a few years ago, my mom got me this for Christmas. It's well, she got me a few different Bond things this Christmas. Well, one Christmas, and this was one of them. I showed Colton earlier before the pod, Caleb, but this is a pin from a retail store, Caleb, and it says own the movie on VHS or DVD.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I guess it's from a Best Buy or something like that.
Did they have those at movie, or let's see, I almost said movie gallery. I didn't mean Walmart.
Probably.
Because I remember seeing those, I think.
Okay.
I don't have one. I don't own one myself. That's a pretty neat little thing.
Yeah, I got it up in the bar out here, you know.
Yeah, and it's not one of those things that's like gonna go for $1 million on eBay.
But
it's a really cool thing to have. I love like anything that's Bond themed.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice just to see promotional material survive the event because usually it gets thrown away.
Yep. And that's something that you don't see a lot of now. You do not see, unless you get on social media, like you're not going to see any advertisement for a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of sad in this day and time.
Sad. Yeah.
Like if you do see advertisement for a TV show or something, it's just because they're pushing their streaming service or whatever on a sign at Walmart, Paramount Plus.
Yeah, the entertainment industry isn't what it once was.
Oh yeah, it's crap.
But well, guys, so what's your last words on The World Is Not Enough?
Family motto.
Did we even talk about that?
We didn't. Yeah, that's another bit to go back to Majesty's, Colton.
Yeah.
That is indeed James Bond's family motto.
I think that's great. I think that's great.
It's very fitting. It's just it seems like something she would say when she goes, I would have given you the world.
The world is not enough.
It's really I mean it fits. Yeah, it was a really nice touch that they named this movie that anyway. So I do.
Go ahead.
I really enjoyed this movie. Like I didn't have high expectations. I like all Pierce's movies. I know I'm in the minority. I don't think I've ever seen a bad Pierce Brosnan movie. Like any of his movies. Okay, I haven't seen that, but I'll take your word for it.
I'm sorry, my wife loves that movie, and
we'll see. Might not even be a bad.
And I love her, but I don't like that movie.
I mean, even Mrs. Doubtfire, that's not a bad Pierce Brosnan movie.
But
I wonder if there are any fan theories about that actually being like a James Bond, like James Bond is undercover. I don't know. And, and Robert Williams is actually Blofeld in disguise as Mrs. Doubtfire.
That was just on Junior, the live action. Frank.
But no, like I mean, I love this movie. I mean, if you watch any of like the interviews that Brosnan did before this movie came out, he talked about how he wanted to add more emotional depth to the character and how they wanted to do, more stuff like that, and I think they definitely did that with The World Is Not Enough. But also, as a kid, I remember this movie being very action-packed. So I feel like we get the best of both worlds. We get several action scenes. We get a a boat chase. We get skiing. We get parahawks. Car being sawed in half. We get a lot of action stuff, but at the same time, we also do get a lot of drama. A lot of dramatic performances between Bond and Sophia Marceau. Electric King. So, yeah, I can't say anything bad about this movie. I do love it. I know it's just going to seem like I just love every one of these movies, which I do. But I mean, guys, spoiler alert, you're not going to hear me say too much bad about Die Another Day, which I know a lot of people will say a lot of bad things about it. But I mean, I love Die Another Day. But okay, I think I'm done. Caleb, you have anything to say?
7 out of 10.
7 out of 10. Okay,
yeah.
I would put this at a 10 out of 10.
Wow.
I would.
Look, I
can't-
don't. Go ahead.
I can't rate these movies anymore, man.
I can't either. I don't know why.
Like,
It's just like, what am I feeling right now? Right now, I would say 7 out of 10.
It's just so hard because like you either like each movie or you hate it.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't think I've hated very many.
Yeah, and I don't hate this movie. I dogged on it a little bit. But Jonathan brought up some good.
A little bit. I try to dog a little bit.
Well, you brought up some good points, Jonathan. The action sequences in this movie are great. The emotional depth and the performances are great. But that's where my problem is. You have all of that great stuff, and then it's undercut by like stupid comic relief.
Okay.
It just feels really out of place. And yeah, and it's like when you especially coming off GoldenEye, man. Like we're 2 movies removed from GoldenEye, and I don't know.
They were just trying to back down from. They were still trying to handle the blowback from License to Kill. I'm sure that's all it is.
It could be.
So next week we get the final Pierce Brosnan Bond movie. We will wave goodbye to our favorite Irish Bond, Pierce Brosnan, in 2002's Die Another Day. And spoiler alert, this was the first Bond movie that I ever saw in the theater.
Yeah.
And it's also one I feel like I have came the farthest with, because guys, at one point, I swear, and I didn't try to do this, but I swear there was one point where I didn't even count it as a real Bond movie. It was like I just somehow thought that Brosnan left off at The World Is Not Enough. Because I don't know, as a kid, I did not like Die Another Day, but like now as an adult, and especially after seeing No Time to Die, like I swear, watching No Time to Die made me completely reevaluate Die Another Day. And
that movie? Okay.
Like seeing No Time to Die and how I like No Time to Die, but like just some parts of it, I'm like, man, I miss the days when Pierce Brosnan was like driving hovercrafts and shooting Mac 10s and just like saving the world, and not like I don't want to get into it right now.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you guys don't have anything else to say, I say we go ahead and end the pod for today or for this week. And the for your ears only, a Bondcast will return in 2002's Die Another Day.
I feel a cold coming on. I may be sick that day.
Well, I will see you then, boys.
See ya.
So
Me shoulder.
Later.